Hello everyone, it's Cheryl Millett here live at 5. I know it's a Sunday, so I hope everybody is enjoying their time no matter where they are. It's a weekend, but for some, it's not so much. Some are working Sunday. Some have complete time off on a Saturday, or what they call Sabbath, which is wonderful to hear that people discipline themselves to take a day off. And we can take time off throughout our day, here and there, weeks at a time, just to give a really good break, or a couple of days a week, day a week. But time off is really good. It's healthy. It's healthy for us. So now I wanted to talk about a few things here today, but what was crossing my mind on what's going on is this whole washing hands scenario, and how it's actually been important to wash our hands anyway. And I came up with, and I was kind of thinking about something this morning. If I were to want to eat an orange, okay, so I'm just going to kind of use an orange as a simple example, because yes, just picked, it's living, it's fresh, it's not highly processed or cooked or anything like that. So when we think of an orange, here's how I have usually and will usually wash my hands in respect to an orange. Typically, you get the orange, I would wash the orange. Probably wash my hands before I washed the orange, but I'd wash the orange and my hands probably at the same time because it's an orange. If it were grapes, probably would wash them ahead of time, or strawberries, I'd wash them and then proceed to wash the fruit. But in case of the orange, it's easy to rub an orange, so you can rub it under warm water preferably. Now I'm going to take the orange and I'm going to put it on a chopping block, and I'm going to cut the orange. In the process of cutting the orange, I'm actually touching the orange and getting things on my hands, whether the juice, sugar, flies love it, and other insects would love it. So here you have that. Once I finished cutting the orange and I have it cut up on the cutting board, I would actually wash the knife, wash my hands, so I could open the cupboard without getting the orange on the cupboard, and I'd get out a plate and I'd put the orange on the plate, and then I'd rinse my hands again, right, so that and I'd even rinse sometimes the handles afterwards if I've got a lot of juice. So you can imagine, this is just a little example. So once the orange is on the plate, and I've washed the knife, and I've grabbed the cutting board, and I've washed the cutting board, and then I make sure I have nothing on my hands, and dry my hands, then I'm good. Now, if I'm going to eat the orange with my hands, which is what I usually do, I would eat the orange, let's say sitting down and enjoy the orange, and then I wouldn't touch anything. I'd open the door. We have one of those doors that there's no handle or anything on it. It just kind of flops back and forth, one of those doors. And okay, so not that. I have that orange on my hands. I go and take the plate, put it, I wouldn't even put it in the dishwasher. I'd wash my hands first, and then I'd open the dishwasher with clean hands. And we're just talking rinsing here. And then I put the plate in the dishwasher. And if the dishwasher is fairly clean, then I don't have to wash my hands again and dry them off, and then I'm done. So you can see how many times I've rinsed my hand just with an orange, thinking, well, I don't want the orange, sticky orange there, or contaminate anything. So you can just imagine the chefs, when the chefs wear, and I'll do this myself, I'll wear an apron, and I love wearing the apron because inevitably you can get whatever things splashed and stuff, and just to protect the clothes, but I will put a hand towel on the chef apron so that I don't have to go too far to dry my hands. But I'd usually rinse my hands or wash my hands with soap and water. If I'm dealing with meat or anything, I do that. I only use the towel because my hands are clean, just to dry them off. That's it. So I wanted to kind of give that simple example of, and this is mostly around food preparation, where we think about that, so we're not touching our hands and getting things dirty, and then time to time I'm washing all the handles down anyway, the fridge and things like that. But typically I'm trying to keep my hands clean, so then as I'm moving around, I'm not touching anything. So I don't want to say that that's an extreme example. That's just really a common sense example, and it becomes more important when you're doing different things and chopping different things, and you don't want to contaminate different things. So food safety is much, if you're going to a restaurant and they're applying the food safety rules, you can imagine that they're washing their hands. I'm just rinsing because it's not, it's water, orange is water, but if it were fat, as I mentioned, oils, that's, that takes warmer water and soaps and just kind of sticks. If you've ever, what did I've done? Oh, kale chips. Have you ever done kale chips where you've got to massage the kale with the coconut oil? And wow, I mean, you have so much oil on your hands, it actually feels kind of nice. But you have other things maybe on there too, like turmeric and stuff like that. But the idea is you need a little bit of soap for sure if you're dealing with anything oils, and that's kind of important there. I just going to give you an example of everyday common sense at any time scenarios. And when people get sick, I'll give you an example. If I catch a cold, and it's been a while, but at times I have run myself down. Like when it was really cold, I ended up having something because I was breathing in the very, very cold air, but I was running, and I shouldn't have done that. I was walking fast, going to get to the library and get back for a client. But the idea was, anytime I blow my nose, and it just could be anything, any reason, then I always wash my hands afterwards. Always. I put the Kleenex away, and I try to touch it with my baby finger in the compost, and I will wash my hands with soap and water at that time. I just do. It's not a big deal, but primarily I just don't want to get the oils and other things on other things. I don't think it's crazy bad, but because I have explained why we catch a cold or why we don't catch a cold. Hi, sis. And so that's important. So the idea around washing is probably more important to do with two things. Yes, food, but our environment itself, it's important. Yes, food on one hand, but some of the other things as we can think about where there is fecal matter or certain things where you just want to wash. This is a whole thing around the Black Plague, remember? And other things that kind of happened in these urban settings, and they would just, they had no idea. Cramming people into a smaller space caused enough chaos and brought in enough animals and rats and things like that, that it began the Black Plague. That's it. It's human error, and no different than Semmelweis, as you've heard, where he learned that it was a good idea to wash your hands. The microscope wasn't around there, from going from autopsy to delivering a baby, and thousands of women would not have died had the doctors took his advice 50 years earlier. It took them 50 years until they could see under the microscope this, change in environment for a dead cadaver means that you have other things there, and then moving that over to a live, to a live body wasn't such a good idea. And of course it had access to the body, which would led to infection and things like that. The idea for washing, cleanliness, and toilets and certain things like this, and how we get rid of our waste, is very important. It's very important. So we have water, we have oils, and definitely with oils you need the hotter water, and soap helps, or magnets. If you've heard that, put magnets in your laundry, and it does the same thing. It breaks up the tension, and the oils and water, they all separate, and then wash them. So I've been using magnets in my laundry for, I'm going to say, it seems like a couple of years. But if it was less, it was less. But that's that. So that's what I really wanted to talk about. The sand scenario is kind of an interesting thing when I was thinking about oils and sands and water and things like that, that if you think about a piece of furniture, okay, so I'm just trying to bring in the aspect of cleanliness, but also nature and our natural stuff, which is oils on our skin. If we did not have oils in our body, we'd be like cardboard. We would be very dry. So we're dependent upon waters and oils in our body, very much so. Protein, yes. Minerals, certain minerals more than others. And things like hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, these key things make up, they're the main things here. A few others. But the idea, if you think of a piece of furniture and you have a piece of wood, and typically with wood you'd want it protected. And oil is a very good thing to protect woods. And in fact, some of the oils have like orange in it. If you think about cleaning the furniture, some citrus in there. But usually they're meant for oil. If you take off the oils, what happens? And that's similar to our skin. So when we go into hot, hot, hot water and we're using soap, we're really stripping a lot of the natural oils off our skin, going down layers deeper than we would normally do. So you wouldn't take a piece of furniture and scrub it with soap and water. You just wouldn't. It'd make a huge impact in how you're stripping all the oils from. And some of them you can see, some of the older woods, they'll go white. There's different things that kind of happen, but it's not a good scenario. It prefers oil and versus water. Now our skin, bathing in very, very hot water, not a good idea. No different than putting very, very hot water on beautiful wood. You just wouldn't do it. It would wash the oils off. It's very much a cleaner. So taking showers that are more lukewarm, warm, to the lowest you can have it as far as the temperature, warm and hot, to the cooler that you can have it, the better. That's just because every time you strip your hair or your skin of natural oils, your body has to compensate or work to put that back in. So you can see how some people may go through more oils, especially then you add winter and it's dry. So this is all common sense stuff, where I remember a person from Pakistan, she was a holistic practitioner, and she would have to slap on all of these creams and stuff to put on her body after her showers. It was insane, she said, and still she would feel dry. And remember, there's a lot of chemicals in these creams. When she went on some natural oils, now this is in case the raw seal oil, her skin was how can I say it, was oil. It was, the oils replenished it, and it was stronger than, it was just natural oils there. And so much so that when she took a shower, not that she was scrubbing her skin and doing hot water, I asked her about that, she came out and she felt very soft. She didn't even have to use any oils or creams. And then she did it again, because one time she says, I couldn't believe it. She went in and she had another shower. I don't know how that works, but you have another shower, and when she came out, same thing. You can tell when you pat yourself dry just how that feels. When I say pat, instead of rubbing your skin, patting or air dry would be, it's healthier, right? It's healthier. And they say that even with babies. Now, babies' skin is that much more tender, but the idea is to pat, not to rub, and then just kind of let air dry. Same thing for adults. Why are we any different when we think of baby? Maybe it's more tender for them, but the same thing kind of applies for us as well. So that's where these kind of words come today. Now, sands, as we know, can break down a lot of things. Sand is a very abrasive, and you can think about just how powerful water is too. Rolls the sand, all the sands, what do they call it, sea glass. And so water, just like in the river, can shape different things, and can so it's got its, one extreme of water. You can imagine it's very powerful, and very powerful. So we have that as well when we think of ongoing working through. It's just more an extension, not necessarily for our bodies. I don't think any of us stand under a shower for days and weeks and years, whereas water, it can have that effect if we think about it in nature. It's washing it cleansely. So I was talking to somebody today, and they were asking me about coffee, but there was something else that was being asked as well. And what I was kind of bringing up was going, look at both sides. There's two sides here. Water can cause a lot of rust. Water is what we're mostly in our body made of. Water. This is the idea with almost anything in nature. There's two sides to it. But it's not black or white. There are the exceptions, and this is where we can easily get tripped up. And yeah, there are exceptions. End of story. In nature. But it's fun to look at nature and see how it applies to different things, and see the two sides of things, many things that are around us. Very interesting. It can go for people who understand the duality, as they say, hot and cold, yeah, love and hate. I mean, all of these things, there's kind of like the opposite to it, right? Two sides to it, two sides to the coin. But anyway, that's really what I wanted to come on and speak today. I kind of had a chuckle this morning on the way to the walk club. I looked down, and some of you might have noticed it more in the city than out in the rural, where it seems to me that the majority of the garbage these days are discarded gloves or masks. And one of the masks today had, it was, you could see the inside of the mask, and what was there was the lipstick. So it was just, this is the first time I actually noticed lipstick on a discarded or littered mask. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I am sure this person put lipstick on because they're out and about, and they're probably taking their mask off and on. And that somebody wouldn't put lipstick on if they're planning to wear their mask a long period of time. Now, here's another thing interesting about the mask. We're going to go into a little bit of this information. Is I just heard that the schools, it's actually optional to wear masks. Optional. But what I'm hearing is some of the students in the high school are threatening, I don't know how or where it's kind of coming through, and saying, if I find somebody, a kid that doesn't have their mask, I'm going to punch their nose in. So I thought this was interesting that we've created this, out of the fear, we've created this, the scenario where we actually are having our own children wanting to beat the shit out of somebody because they don't have their mask. And that obviously comes down from who? Yeah, I want to say who, but of course it comes from who. Initially, this whole pandemic thing, which is not real. That's what I get. So let's bring up the who here for a second. If anybody remembers the swine flu, H1N1, and I remember following at the time, and there was a lot of information about and how many millions of people were going to get it, and then it turned out, following and trailing the information, that when they finally got the information back, 92% of the people actually did not have the swine flu. It's so familiar to this situation. Be reminded this has happened in history before. However, they have never forced the mask thing, nor did they actually force the lockdown of the economy. So this is interesting how, I don't want to say things tend to, they're here, they're kind of progressing, but we've all got to be aware of these pandemics that are not real. They don't turn out like they say they're going to. And that's a huge thing to understand. Now, the idea is, my understanding is, the people who come up with these models are not very, very good at their job. Maybe I can do a better job. But here it is. This is Forbes.com, and let me just kind of bring up this article here. Yeah, why the WHO faked a pandemic. Now this is in 2010, and it goes through how the World Health Organization has suddenly gone from crying the sky is falling like a crackling chicken little to squealing like a stuck pig. Now it goes on to say that There's charges here, there's spokesmen. Now, how many people ever tuned into that the H1N1 was another false scenario here? Not great. So it says here, epidemiologist Wolfgang Wodarg has declared that the false pandemic is one of the greatest medicine scandals of the century. And what I'd like to say right here, this probably takes the cake. The idea is to actually believe some of the things that they're doing, they're saying, what people are saying, and we have to understand that this is, and I'll put this link here as well, but the idea is we really have to ask questions. And as people say, it's the science, the science, the science. I'm going, yeah, are you looking at both sciences, or are you looking at both sides? Because there is science that is saying that. And I wonder if I have that link here. It was, I was into some research that actually showed over the years, over the decades, where they said the doctors that are in the operating room don't need to have masks. The research showed nothing happened when they wore masks. So they did this research over years and at various times in different situations. It was actually, my God, if I can find it, there was probably a dozen research papers on it. So, and it didn't help. There was no, nothing to worry about in the operating rooms to wearing masks. So we keep coming back to, well, they're wearing them in the operating room, but really, do they even know them based on the research? Obviously, they didn't change that. That's the thing about left and right, hot and cold, is you can pick a side. And why they pick a side, or who gets to pick a side, good questions. But somebody picks a side. You're talking too much truth. Facebook has you muted in and out. Oh, really? Isn't that interesting? Well, good for them. Here you go. But I'll put the links down below. The idea of muting in and out, that's an interesting one, Sharon. I would have never have thought that. But the idea is, if you get the few words that I'm saying, you'll start to understand that things that are happening may not be what we're thinking. And the big question is why. And there are a number of people out there that are rolling and diving that. I would prefer that we all step back and see the bigger picture, and that's a piece of the picture, and carry on. Do everything that you can. Now, this past week, yesterday, our farmers market opened up, and they're open up on Saturdays. And I thought, okay, here's Cheryl, I'm not wearing a mask, and I don't plan on it, and I don't want to, and it's in the bylaw, human rights, I don't have to. So I went to the market, and what I'm finding interesting is, so there was one volunteer there at one end, and then another one, and they're taking, in and out, only so many people, everything's spaced out, and there's yellow markers on the sidewalk and stuff like that, or in there. And so I said to him, he says, do you have your mask? And I said, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm exempt. And he looked at me, exempt. I said, yes, by law, 451/2020 states that I am exempt. And he's looking at me, huh? He says, well then, why? And I say to him nicely, well, I don't have to tell you why, actually. But he says, you got a health problem? And anyway, and I says, well, I don't have to say anything. He goes, okay, well, then you're going to keep your physical distancing. And I said, yes, absolutely. So didn't make it a big deal, and went in. I saw a couple people looking at me initially, and then I said, well, I'm not making a big deal. I don't want to stand out. It's not about that. But I could see the farmers in a few of the conversations not even looking at me. It's almost like, okay, she doesn't have a mask, there's a good reason. Nobody looked like they were questioning me. But I was the only one there. The only one in 150 people, and then plus the farmers, that had no mask. And it's clear that some of them probably didn't want them. The farmers thought this was a bit ridiculous. Just from their comments, they kind of said that, and maybe because they didn't have a mask, they felt comfortable in saying that. But anyway, the idea is exemption. Take advantage of it. And it's not advantage in a bad way, because I don't feel there is any threat here to anybody at all. At all. Nothing. Similar year ago, you're thinking cold, flu, those kind of things, and you're vulnerable, then manage that the best you can at all times. At all times. So the idea is, yeah, we have choice, and we have to maintain that, because I had a, wasn't a dream vision, but a thought kind of a, where, wow, if everybody wore a mask, we would tend to think it is normal, and there's no new normal here, people. The language, you're going to see me, I already put a couple of words up as in new language, and I'm understanding, I don't want to pay a few $100s for this new book, that the words that have been brought in, our language that we have been brought in and continuously played and over and over and over again, some of it doesn't serve us. And I think the mask thing is the same thing. It doesn't serve us anyway, but there's more here than meets the eye. And yeah, so there you go. I don't think the masks are going to make you really sick, and some definitely feel it over the long term. And the dentists say there could be a problem, especially if you have periodontal disease as it is, and you have a heart condition, and you have more of this bacteria or not fresh air coming into the mouth, and you have that more, and you're swallowing that, and that goes into your system, systemic, and then cardiovascular, heart, as the science and research says. So considering certain things, there might be individually based, absolutely, and people who maybe need more oxygen, all of those things a question, but it's not black or white. This is, as I would talk the other day, is we've got to understand black or white, and there's shades in between to go from one to the other. Are these the exceptions? Are these the uniqueness? Is it? Absolutely. So that's why we can get so argumentative on any subject if we try to make things black and white, and they're not. So that's all I wanted to come in today and speak about. I'll put the link down, the whole faked a pandemic thing, and just a little bit, again, a little bit information that you have, a little bit more inner standing. And so we are in the water here all together. We're not under the water, but we're in the water. And I think that was it. Don't have anything else open. No, that's it. Keep it simple. A few things to chew on, a few things to contemplate, a few things to kind of bring into our awareness, right, as we aware. But thanks for coming on. Good to see you here, sis, and Sharon. Oh, Sharon. So Sharon and I met where my father lives in Thornton recently. We have been, we went to the same high school, and a number of the same friends, and over the past several years, we've been, part of answering, watching each other, what we're posting, and messaging and things like that. And we had an opportunity recently to meet in Thornton, so we had some ice cream, and I got to meet her lovely husband, Don. He's wonderful, wonderful, both two wonderful people. So I'm sure she's back in Labrador home and settled in, or maybe soon. Yes, soon, I think, Sharon. That's right. So you're probably leaving back soon. Had a good time with meeting friends. And that's what it's all about, people, really living and enjoying and feeling good and bringing, did I say enjoying? No, I'm supposed to say enjoying, not enjoying, but enjoying your life. So you're enjoy instead of enjoy, and all of those things. So you're going to see how these words kind of change things up and how they feel. It's excellent. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. And anything you want to comment on, post here, live at 5, in the comments, do so. Share information, and I encourage that this is a good time. You come off and on, you're not able to make it live at 5. If you're looking to read some posts or little links or something, go below, because that's where I'm just kind of posting them there, and it's easy then to find, and everybody can find it. So yes, you're home. Yes, you're home. Okay, wonderful. Yeah, keep it real, people. This is important, to keep it real. Be you. This is where natural comes in, be real, and it's happening more and more, which is great. And we certainly got off track and still off track in some ways, but we can get on the track. Yes, we can. Anyway, take care, everyone. Bye for now, and we'll see you tomorrow live at 5.